Captain Jack Havoc Harrison stood at the viewport of the U.S. Olive Branch, watching the imposing Galactic Council station grow larger against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. The irony of his callsign aboard a vessel named for peace wasn't lost on him. 20 years in Special Forces had earned him that nickname, along with a chest full of medals he'd left locked in a drawer back on Earth. 5 minutes to docking, Captain, Lieutenant Chen announced from the navigation console. Harrison nodded, straightening the collar of his ceremonial uniform. The outfit felt foreign after years in tactical gear, but the brass had been insistent humanity needed to put its best foot forward. Remember, he addressed the small crew of diplomats and scientists, we're here to establish peaceful relations. The Council has been observing Earth for decades. They've seen our wars, our violence. Our job is to show them that's not all we are. Ambassador Reyes, the mission's civilian lead, approached with a tablet. The Council has transmitted their preliminary assessment of Earth. Thought you should see it. Her expression was carefully neutral, but Harrison caught the tension in her jaw. He scanned the document, his face hardening with each paragraph. Earth had been classified as a Level 3 developing world primitive by galactic standards. Humans were described as aggressive but technologically limited, with notes suggesting our species would likely self-terminate before achieving meaningful spacefaring capability. Harrison had been prepared for condescension, even dismissal. But this was something else. The Council had already decided what humanity was before they'd even met a single human face to face. "Captain?" Reyes prompted. "We proceed as planned," Harrison replied, handing back the tablet. "If they've underestimated us, that's their mistake." The Council chamber stretched impossibly high, 7 tiers of alien representatives looking down at the human delegation. Harrison stood at the center, feeling like a specimen under examination. "We welcome Earth's representatives," announced High Counselor Santhar, a towering being with iridescent skin. "Your journey here demonstrates remarkable achievement for a species of your development stage." Harrison bowed respectfully, swallowing his pride. "We thank the Council for this opportunity and look forward to joining the galactic community." Over the next 3 hours, Harrison watched as the Council members asked pointed questions not to learn, he realized, but to confirm their preconceptions. They seemed almost disappointed when his responses were measured and diplomatic rather than aggressive or confused. When a Council member from a silicon-based species suggested that humans' biological limitations made them unsuitable for deep space exploration, Harrison merely smiled and outlined humanity's adaptability and engineering solutions. "Fascinating," the alien replied, mandibles clicking. "You compensate admirably for your inherent weaknesses." By the session's end, Harrison could read the room. The initial wariness had given way to something more dangerous: dismissal. The vote was nearly unanimous. Earth would be classified as a manageable species, allowed limited contact with the galactic community, but restricted from certain technologies and star systems. Human expansion would be guided for mutual benefit. As Harrison and his team were escorted out, High Counselor Xanthar approached privately. "Captain Harrison, I hope you understand that these measures are for everyone's protection, including Earth's." Harrison maintained his diplomatic smile. "Of course, High Counselor." He paused, then added quietly, "Though I feel I should mention the humans you've met today are under strict orders to be conciliatory." "Meaning?" Xanthar's luminescent eyes narrowed. "Meaning you've only seen humans playing nice." Harrison's smile never wavered, but something in his eyes made the High Counselor step back. "For your sake, I hope that's all you ever see." 6 months after Captain Harrison's return to Earth, the Galactic Council convened in a closed session. The massive chamber, normally filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds, held only the High Council and a select group of military advisors. High Counselor Xanthar projected a holographic image of Earth at the center of the room. "The human homeworld presents an interesting dilemma," he began, his luminescent appendages waving gently. "While technologically primitive, their adaptability and aggression suggest potential for rapid advancement and corresponding destabilization of regional space." Ambassador Krexlaw stood, his exoskeleton clicking as he moved toward the projection. As the Council's most decorated diplomat and a veteran of 17 first contact missions, his opinion carried significant weight. "I've studied the human delegation extensively," Krexlaw announced, mandibles flexing with confidence. Their diplomatic overtures were textbook primitives attempting to mimic more advanced civilizations while concealing their true nature. He manipulated the hologram, zooming in to display Earth's ongoing conflicts, nuclear stockpiles, and environmental damage. "Classic pre-unification chaos," he continued. "They send us their best diplomat, this Havoc Harrison, while their own world remains fractured and violent. Their capabilities are limited by their own internal disputes." Councillor Vexalia, representing the Ancient Gen Collective, raised a translucent appendage. "I find Captain Harrison's parting words concerning." Krexlaw dismissed her with a gesture. "Primitive posturing. I've seen it in a dozen emerging species. They always attempt to appear more formidable than they are an evolutionary defense mechanism." Nevertheless, Santhar interjected, "Prudence suggests containment is appropriate. Ambassador Krexlaw, please outline your recommendation." Krexlaw expanded the hologram to show Earth's solar system. "I propose the Thanavar Protocol, a modified quarantine. We establish monitoring stations at the system's edge, restrict human expansion to their immediate planetary neighborhood, and control technological development through selective contact." He highlighted several points around Earth's system. "Automated sentinels here, here and here. Any vessel attempting unauthorized departure is redirected. We position our diplomatic envoy as a cultural exchange while monitoring their development. I volunteer to lead this mission." "And the humans will accept this?" Councillor Vexalia asked. "They have no choice," Krexlaw replied. "Our technology is millennia beyond theirs. They'll never detect the Sentinel network, and my diplomatic team will ensure they view restricted technology access as beneficial protection rather than containment." The Council voted unanimously to implement the Thanavar Protocol, with Krexlaw appointed as Chief Diplomatic Envoy to Earth. 3 weeks later, Krexlaw stood in the United Nations General Assembly, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into dozens of human languages simultaneously. "The Galactic Council is pleased to establish this cultural exchange program," he announced to the assembled representatives. "Our limited technological sharing will focus on sustainable energy and medical advances, helping Earth address its most pressing challenges." He deliberately avoided mentioning the Sentinel network already being constructed at the edges of the solar system, or the monitoring devices installed throughout key human facilities during his delegation's goodwill tour. From his seat in the gallery, Captain Harrison watched impassively. As Krexlaw outlined the mutually beneficial arrangement, Harrison's gaze never left the alien diplomat. Even as world leaders applauded what they believed was humanity's first step toward galactic citizenship. Later, at a reception in the UN Plaza, Krexlaw approached Harrison, mandibles flexed in what his species considered a gesture of benevolence. "Captain, I trust you're pleased with the Council's generous offer of technological exchange." Harrison smiled thinly. "Very generous, limited interplanetary travel, restricted communications technology, supervised development. It's exactly what one might offer a species they consider no threat." "The Council wishes only to guide Earth's peaceful integration," Krexlaw replied smoothly. "Of course." Harrison nodded toward a group of human scientists eagerly examining an alien data tablet. "You'll find we're quite good students." "I expected nothing less." "And remarkably quick to adapt," Harrison added, his smile never reaching his eyes. "You might be surprised how quickly." As Krexlaw moved away to greet other dignitaries, he dismissed the captain's words as empty bravado. His report to the Council that evening noted, "Humans displaying appropriate gratitude for Council intervention. The containment proceeding on schedule. Earth presents no significant security concerns." What he failed to notice was the meeting taking place 50 meters below the UN building, where Harrison and representatives from Earth's major powers were reviewing the first schematics for technology reverse-engineered from cultural gifts and the classified space program already adapting alien principles to human innovation. Commander Elizabeth Mayhem Morgan ducked as sparks cascaded from the overhead conduits of the Phantom. her experimental vessel hidden within the abandoned mining tunnels of Ceres. The ship wasn't pretty, a cobbled-together collection of Earth technology and reverse-engineered alien systems, but it was invisible to Council scanners, and that's all that mattered. "Torres, how's that cloaking system coming?" Morgan barked, wiping grease from her forehead with the back of her hand. Lieutenant Sophia Torres emerged from beneath a tangle of cables, her dark hair tied back in a practical bun. "Almost there, Commander. The Council's quantum detection grid operates on a frequency we never would have discovered without those cultural exchange documents Harrison smuggled out." Morgan grinned. Guess those diplomatic cocktail parties were good for something. 4 years had passed since the Galactic Council had implemented their benevolent guidance of Earth. 4 years of smiling and nodding at Krexlaw's diplomatic corps, while secretly building humanity's resistance. The Council believed humans were developing exactly as expected, accepting alien supervision, grateful for the trickle of approved technologies, but and safely contained within their solar system. They couldn't have been more wrong. "Captain on deck," called out Chief Engineer Rajiv Patel as the airlock cycled open. Captain Harrison stepped into the Phantom's cramped bridge, looking considerably less polished than during his diplomatic mission. His formal uniform had been replaced by practical combat fatigues, and the careful diplomatic expression was gone. "Morgan," he nodded. "Show me what you've got." "Gladly, sir." Morgan led him to the tactical display. "We've got 5 ships operational, all with functioning cloaking tech. They can slip past the Sentinel network undetected. Weapons systems are unconventional, but effective." Harrison examined the specifications. "You've adapted their own technology against them." "With improvements," Torres added proudly. "They gave us medical nanites. We repurposed them for ship repair. They shared atmospheric scrubbers. We modified them to disable their sensor arrays." Morgan activated another display. "But this is what you really need to see." The hologram showed a massive structure hidden within Jupiter's rings, a shipyard invisible to conventional detection. "We're calling it Phoenix Base," Morgan explained. "It built using automated mining drones, supposedly collecting mineral samples for scientific research. We've constructed 12 advanced vessels there, twice the size of the Phantom, with 3 times the firepower." Harrison's eyes widened slightly, the closest thing to surprise Morgan had ever seen from him. "How did you manage this with Council observers everywhere?" Chief Intelligence Officer Maya Chen stepped forward. "That's where my team comes in, sir." The former cyber warfare specialist pulled up a new display. "We've been feeding their monitoring systems modified data. They see what we want them to see." Harrison nodded appreciatively. "And Krexlaw's response?" "Still completely oblivious," Chen replied with a tight smile. "His latest report to the Council describes humans as admirably adapting within expected parameters." Morgan couldn't suppress a snort. "Arrogant bastard." "But there's more, sir," Chen continued, her expression turning serious. She activated a final display, a decoded transmission intercepted from Krexlaw's private communications with the Council. The assembled crew fell silent as they read the translation. Phase 1 of the Thanavar Protocol proceeding as planned. The human technological development successfully contained. Recommend advancing timeline for Phase 2 resource extraction. Preliminary surveys indicate Earth's biosphere and mineral resources would support Council operations for approximately 200 standard cycles, after which the planet can be repurposed for Gen-Tac colonization. Recommend gradual population reduction of native species to manageable labor force of 500 million specimens. Morgan watched Harrison's face harden as he read the transmission. "So that's their game," he said quietly. "They never intended to welcome us into their galactic community. We're just resources to be harvested." "What do we do, Captain?" Morgan asked. Harrison straightened, the last vestige of the diplomatic facade falling away completely. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority that had earned him the call sign Havoc long before he became a diplomat. "We accelerate our plans. Morgan, your fleet needs to be combat ready in 30 days. Chen, I want every piece of intelligence on Council weaknesses. Torres, push those engines past anything the Council would think possible." He turned to address the entire crew, his eyes gleaming with cold determination. The Council thinks they're dealing with an obedient, contained species. It's time to show them what humans are really capable of when we stop playing nice. Morgan felt a fierce grin spread across her face. With pleasure, sir. The Ganymede Research Station was supposed to be a symbol of cooperation, a joint human council facility dedicated to the peaceful study of Jupiter's most habitable moon. In reality, it had been a strategic concession by Kreck's law to monitor human activities in the outer solar system. No one expected it to become a battlefield. The emergency transmission reached Earth at 0347 hours UTC, fragmented and distorted by Jupiter's radiation belts. Under attack. Council forces have claiming security protocols civilians need immediate. The signal cut off abruptly, leaving the United Earth Defense Command Center in stunned silence. Admiral Helena Chen, the highest-ranking military officer on the planet, turned to the holographic display, where representatives from every major nation watched with grim expressions. Preliminary reports indicate Council enforcers seized the station, citing unauthorized research as justification. 327 civilian scientists and support staff were on that station. Any survivors? Asked the Russian premier. Unknown. All communications have been jammed. President Santos of the United American Alliance leaned forward. This wasn't just a research station, was it, Admiral? Chen's expression remained impassive. Ganymede housed our most advanced quantum communications array capable of bypassing Council monitoring systems. If they've seized that technology, they'll discover we've been developing capabilities beyond their restrictions, the Chinese chairman finished. Captain Harrison, standing quietly at the back of the room, stepped forward. Madam President, distinguished leaders, it was only a matter of time. The Council never intended peaceful coexistence. We now have confirmation they've moved from containment to active aggression. Captain Krexlaw's smooth voice interrupted as his hologram materialized in the center of the room. I assure you, this was merely a security operation. Some of your scientists were experimenting with forbidden technologies. The Council had no choice but to intervene. Harrison's eyes narrowed. And the status of our people? Being processed according to Council protocols. Krexlaw replied vaguely. This regrettable incident underscores why the Council's guidance is necessary. Your species simply isn't ready for certain technologies. President Santos stood, her voice steel. Ambassador Krexlaw, we demand the immediate return of our citizens and withdrawal of your forces from Ganymede. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Krexlaw responded. Mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was amusement. The Council has reclassified Ganymede as a restricted zone, for your own protection, of course. When the transmission ended, the room erupted in angry voices until President Santos raised her hand. Admiral Chen, what are our options? Chen exchanged glances with Harrison. Madam President, Captain Harrison and Commander Morgan have been preparing for this eventuality. Harrison stepped forward. Operation Phoenix is ready, Madam President. We can deploy immediately. And what exactly is Operation Phoenix? The European Chancellor asked. The end of our charade. Harrison replied simply. For 4 years we've pretended to be the compliant, primitive species the Council wanted to see. Meanwhile, we've been building, learning, adapting. We now have the capability to not only defend Earth, but to take the fight directly to the Council. You're proposing war against an interstellar civilization. The Indian Prime Minister looked skeptical. Harrison shook his head. Not war. A demonstration. The Council doesn't respect diplomacy, they only respect strength. We need to show them what humans are truly capable of when we stop holding back. The Phoenix fleet can liberate Ganymede and rescue our people, Commander Morgan added, stepping up beside Harrison. Her hologram had joined from Ceres. The Council doesn't know we exist. The element of surprise is total. A heavy silence fell over the room as Earth's leaders contemplated the precipice before them. Finally, President Santos straightened. We've played by their rules. We've accepted their guidance. We've smiled while they've plotted to strip our world and enslave our people. She looked around the room. Are we united in this? One by one, the world leaders nodded. Captain Harrison, Commander Morgan, you have your authorization. Bring our people home and show the Galactic Council exactly who they're dealing with. As the meeting adjourned, Harrison pulled Morgan aside. This is it, Lizzie. No more playing nice. Morgan's smile was fierce. Remember when they classified us as manageable, Jack? I can't wait to see their faces when they realize how wrong they were. Ganymede first, Harrison said. Then we deliver our message directly to the Council. What message is that? Morgan asked, though the gleam in her eye suggested she already knew. Harrison's expression hardened. You thought we were dangerous when we were playing nice. You haven't seen anything yet. The Council enforcer vessel Righteous Doctrine maintained standard patrol orbit around Ganymede. Its crew relaxed after the straightforward seizure of the Human Research Station. The primitive humans had offered minimal resistance, exactly as expected from a species classified as manageable. The Commander Vex Tool, a junior officer, reported, sensors detect an anomaly in Sector 7. The Thargan commander barely looked up from his reports. Likely Jupiter's radiation interference. Calibrate and continue standard sweep. Sir, the anomaly is the officer never finished his sentence as the ship violently lurched sideways, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. Outside, seemingly materializing from empty space, 5 human vessels of unknown configuration surrounded the Righteous Doctrine. Their hulls were a patchwork of metals and composites that confounded Council scanning technology, and their propulsion systems emitted energy signatures unlike anything in the Council database. Impossible, Vex Tool whispered, mandibles clicking in agitation. The humans don't possess cloaking technology. The view screen activated, revealing Commander Morgan's face. This is Commander Elizabeth Morgan of the United Earth Defense Force. You are holding human citizens against their will. Return them immediately, or we will retrieve them ourselves. Vex Tool regained his composure. This is a violation of Council containment protocols. Stand down immediately or face. Morgan cut the transmission. They never want to do it the easy way, she muttered, then opened a channel to the fleet. Phoenix Squadron, execute Operation Deathworld. Inside the captured research station, Krex Law personally supervised the interrogation of the human scientists. His preliminary report to the Council had already highlighted how easily the facility had been secured, further evidence of human weakness. That illusion shattered when the station's lights flickered, and emergency containment doors slammed shut, isolating the Council forces into small, manageable groups. What's happening? Krex Law demanded of his security chief, a known ambassador. Station systems are not responding to our overrides. A human voice echoed through the station's communication system. Captain Harrison. Ambassador Krex Law, I believe you're holding something that belongs to us. We've come to take it back. Before Krex Law could respond, the environmental controls shifted dramatically. Temperature plummeted to near freezing, atmospheric pressure increased by 30%, and oxygen levels dropped to what Council biological data indicated was below human survival thresholds. They're trying to force us out, Krex Law realized, but they'll kill their own people in the process. What he failed to understand was that the human captives were prepared. Each scientist activated miniaturized breathing apparatus hidden in mundane jewelry or medical implants, technology specifically designed to be overlooked by Council scanners. As Council forces struggled in the harsh conditions, sealed hatches throughout the station burst open. Human strike teams poured in, wearing minimal environmental protection. Where Council enforcers wheezed and staggered in the thin air and crushing pressure, the humans moved with practiced efficiency. How? Gasped a Thargan officer as a human operator disarmed him with casual ease. You shouldn't be able to function. The human smiled grimly. We evolved on a Deathworld, friend. This is nothing. On the bridge of the Phantom, Harrison watched the operation unfold. Status report. Lieutenant Chen. Council resistance is minimal, sir. Their troops are incapacitated by the environmental conditions. Our teams are securing the station section by section. Casualties 0. Harrison nodded. And the Righteous Doctrine? Commander Morgan has disabled their weapons and propulsion. The ship is effectively neutralized. Outside, the Phantom rocked as a Council reinforcement cruiser fired upon them. The energy weapons that should have vaporized the human vessel merely left scorch marks on its hull. "Return fire," Harrison ordered calmly. "Targeted strikes only. Disable, don't destroy." The Phantom's weapons, hybrids of human innovation and reverse-engineered alien technology, lanced out with precision. The Council cruiser's engines went dark, and its weapons systems followed seconds later. "Sir," Chen reported with barely contained excitement, "all objectives secured. The station is ours. All human personnel recovered, and both Council vessels neutralized." Harrison opened a channel to Morgan. "Commander, status?" Morgan's face appeared on screen, a satisfied grin visible beneath her minimal breathing mask. "Operation Deathworld complete, Captain. You should see their faces. These high-gravity adapted Thargans can barely stand up in here, while our troops are moving around like it's a standard Earth day." Harrison allowed himself a small smile. "Casualties?" None on our side. Council forces are stunned but largely unharmed. Ambassador Krex Law has been secured." "Bring him to me," Harrison said. It's time he understood exactly what playing nice has been hiding. Krex Law, his exoskeleton support systems struggling against conditions humans navigated with ease, was escorted to the command center. There, displayed on the main screen, was the Phoenix fleet, not 5 ships, but 20 surrounding the disabled Council vessels. Krex Law struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. "This is impossible. Your species doesn't have this technology." "No," Harrison corrected. "We weren't permitted this technology. There's a difference. The Council will respond with overwhelming force," Krex Law warned. Harrison's smile was cold. "We're counting on it. Tell your Council this was just a demonstration. A small sample of what humans can do when we stop playing by your rules." He gestured to the station around them. "You tried to terraform our bodies to fit your ships. We adapted our bodies to withstand conditions that cripple your forces. You restricted our technology. We built better technology in secret." Harrison leaned closer. "You classified us as manageable. Your first mistake was failing to understand what we are, a species that evolved on a world your kind would consider a death sentence. Your second mistake was thinking we were showing you everything we could do." Krex Law finally understood the meaning behind Harrison's parting words years ago. The humans hadn't been playing nice, they'd been playing patient. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. Representatives from hundreds of worlds watched as the holographic evidence played out before them, human vessels dismantling Council enforcers with surgical precision, human soldiers operating in environments that incapacitated elite Council forces, and most disturbing of all, technology that should have been centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. High Councillor Santhar's luminescent skin had dimmed noticeably. "Ambassador Krex Law, explain how your assessment could have been so catastrophically inaccurate." Krex Law stood before the Council, his once proud posture diminished. "High Councillor, the humans deliberately concealed their capabilities. They performed for us. What we believed was their maximum potential was merely what they chose to reveal." "And now?" asked Councillor Vexalia. The chamber's massive doors parted, and Captain Harrison entered, flanked by Commander Morgan and a small delegation of Earth representatives. No longer in ceremonial attire, Harrison wore a simple military uniform bearing only his rank insignia. "Now," Harrison answered, his voice carrying through the chamber, "Earth requests a reconsideration of our classification and status within the galactic community." Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. "You come before this Council having violated containment protocols, disabled Council vessels, and revealed unauthorized technological development," Sandar stated. "Yet you speak of recognition rather than facing consequences." Harrison smiled thinly. "With respect, High Councillor, your sentinels have been neutralized. Your monitoring systems have been compromised for years." No, your containment of Earth exists only in Council records. He paused. We're not here to threaten, we're here to correct a misunderstanding. A data crystal materialized in the center of the chamber, projecting detailed schematics of Earth's defensive capabilities, a fleet large enough to challenge Council supremacy in the Sol sector, weapons systems derived from but improved upon Council designs, and biological adaptations that allowed humans to operate in environments lethal to most Council species. Humanity doesn't want war, Harrison continued. We never did. But we will no longer accept classification as a manageable species or submit to harvesting plans for our world. Santhar's appendages twitched in alarm. How did you? We've been listening, Morgan interjected, her voice hard. For years. The council chamber erupted in chaotic discussion until Sand raised all four of his upper limbs for silence. Captain Harrison, what does Earth want? The same thing we wanted when I first stood in this chamber to join the galactic community as equals. Not as a resource to be exploited or a primitive species to be managed, but as partners. Harrison's expression softened slightly. We're willing to return to being the cooperative, diplomatic species you first met, but with mutual understanding of what we're capable of should cooperation fail. After 3 days of tense negotiations, the Council formally reclassified Earth as a sovereign allied world with full technological autonomy and as protection under Council law, the first species to ever rise from manageable to sovereign status in Council history. As the Earth delegation prepared to depart, High Councillor Sandar approached Harrison privately. You could have attacked the Council directly, Sandar observed. Your forces were sufficient. Why show restraint? Because that's not who we are, Harrison replied. Humanity isn't naturally aggressive, we're naturally adaptive. We become what we need to be to survive, he smiled. Right now we need to be diplomatic again. And if the Council had refused your terms? Harrison's expression remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened momentarily. Then we would have become something else. Santhar's skin pulsed with an emotion Harrison couldn't identify. The Council has existed for 50,000 years, Captain. In all that time, we've never encountered a species quite like humanity. I'll take that as a compliment, High Councillor. 3 months later, Harrison stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Joint Human-Council space station orbiting Earth. Commander Morgan joined him, watching Council diplomatic vessels arriving for the formal recognition ceremony. They're actually treating us with respect now, Morgan noted. Amazing what a little demonstration of force can accomplish. Harrison chuckled. It wasn't the force that impressed them, Lizzie. It was the restraint. We could have done far worse. So we're back to playing nice? We always were nice, Commander. The universe just needed to understand that nice isn't the same as weak. Harrison gazed out at the stars. As my grandmother used to say, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to annihilate everyone in the room. Morgan laughed. Is that what this was all along? Your plan? Harrison's smile was enigmatic as he watched Council representatives approaching with newfound caution and respect. Let's just say the universe learned a valuable lesson. You thought we were dangerous when we were playing nice. Well, now we're playing nice again, and nobody's forgotten what happened in between.